introduction. So Uzi Alaidroos is at Northrop Grumman's, where he is a systems engineering manager. In case you didn't know, the aerospace guys, they did not work remotely. They kept coming in all the way through COVID. He did that as a husband with, at the time, one child, but soon a second child on the way. He's now the proud father of a 3.5-year-old daughter and a 5-month-old son. And he was one of 2 FEMBAs, which was really a big honor for FEMBA to have 2 people chosen last year as our John Wooden Global Leadership Fellows. And then just a little fun fact, Uzi and I actually grew up right next to each other in North Texas. I grew up in Grayson County, right on the border with Oklahoma. And in between Grayson County and Dallas County is Collin County. So we actually grew up not too far from each other. And the plot thickens. Uzi went to the University of Texas, so he's a Longhorn. Oh, my eyes, my retina. May have to have surgery. He's a Longhorn, and I, of course, went to Texas A&M. Gig 'em, baby. So, but once you get out of Texas, we get to be friends over here. So, I don't always get to do this, but I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to share about a minute of a video, because most of my guests don't have a professionally polished, produced video by way of their drive time. But because of Uzi's receipt of the John Wooden Global Leadership Fellow, we're gonna show 2 little excerpts from a video. So give me 1 second while I share screen, and then we'll come back and talk about what you just saw.
The humility of a great servant leader is a tough thing to grasp.
Think of about every CEO or top coach out there and the lifestyle that goes with that. You get this automatic association of wealth with positions of power. Coach John Wooden would celebrate national championships. He had 10 to be exact. But he would return to here, a condo in Encino. Why am I telling you this?
You have just won your 10th national championship in the last...
I think this year's fellows follow the model of the humble servant leader. Each of them created opportunity in service of the greater good, in service to the team. And they did it with grit, perseverance, and humility.
All right, so we'll pause it there, and then we'll come back in a couple of minutes. But Uzi, thanks for being here today.
No, really, really excited to be here. Really thrilled to, have the chance to, talk about, kind of the legacy of Coach Wooden for those who aren't necessarily as familiar with Coach Wooden, since, we're a few years removed from, those championships he won for UCLA. But I think that so many of his leadership lessons are so applicable to anyone in an MBA program right now, and particularly one at UCLA.
Yeah, shame on me, like we said, I grew up in Texas, so I knew about Longhorns and Aggies, but I did not really know about UCLA when I arrived here 20 years ago. And at first I thought, oh, Coach John Wooden, oh, great, they had a good coach, back in the 70s and 60s. I wasn't even born when he started winning championships. But I have come to appreciate who he is. And for those of you who are entering Anderson this year, it's really important to know about Coach John Wooden, because the people who hire your boss, all those folks who are like our boss's boss, they all know who this gentleman is. He's one of the winningest coaches ever. He won the NCAA basketball tournament 10 years, including 7 in a row. And he was named by ESPN the coach of the century last last century. And his legacy is way beyond basketball. In his golden years, after he retired, he worked on this thing, the pyramid of success. And it is an approach to striving for our own personal best. And he has this wonderful definition of success. Success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. Coach John Wooden. And his legacy through sports is incredible. All the basketball great coaches in both men's and women's will refer to him. When you hear Valerie Kondo Field talk about women's gymnastics, she was a protege of Coach John Wooden. And most universities don't have an iconic person. Penn State had Joe Paterno, and then his reputation was somewhat sullied by actions of those around him. So part of the amazingness of being part of UCLA, UCLA, as we're known around the world, and UCLA as we're known here in the US, 540,000 alumni, one of the top 5 alumni networks of any American university. And we have this kind of saint, our patron saint of basketball. And the gentleman that was speaking in the video with the awesome narrator voice, that's not an actor. That is our former dean. And the creator, really, that's former dean, excuse me, Al Osborne, who it was his brainchild to come up with the annual John Wooden Global Leadership Experience. And we nominate a high achieving CEO every year. And then we have 3 or 4 Anderson Fellows. And Uzi applied to be one of those and was actually selected. So we also want people to know that this exists, but you have to kind of ante in to be a part of it. So, Uzi, how did you come to want to apply, and what was it like to be selected, and what was the evening like where you were honored? And then we'll show the next video.
Yeah, I came to apply just because when I read about it, I'm a huge sports fan, so I'd been familiar with Coach Wooden for forever. So when I heard that there was something affiliated with Coach at Anderson, I wanted to learn more, and I knew so much about coaches, stressing his pyramid of leadership and all these tenets that fell into that I thought really aligned well with someone going through this MBA journey. So when I heard about it, I wanted to see how I could sort of relate my personal leadership journey and share the journey that I had gone through, both leading up to FEMBA as well as through my first few quarters, and connect sort of draw the line between my journey and so many of those leadership tenets that Coach Wooden had emphasized. So that's really what motivated me to apply for the Wooden Fellowship. And the journey beyond that was unbelievable. Getting to participate in the Wooden Awards, meeting past CEOs that were recipients of the award, and it was just a fantastic experience overall. Dean Osborne, boy, I tell you, he is an amazing guy. And just having the chance to sit down with him and just have a conversation was something that I thought was incredible.
Where were you when you got the news?
I was so COVID was still going on. I was but traffic had picked back up, and I remember I was commuting every day to and from work. And I remember I was loving that there was no traffic for a while, but the day I got the news, there was an accident or something, and I was just pretty much at a standstill. I think it was a Friday afternoon. I just wanted to be home. I wasn't in the best mood at the time because I'm here sitting in traffic, not knowing how long it's going to take to get home. And I got a phone call from a UCLA number, and I said, "Uh-oh, maybe I'm in trouble here." Um, and you know, Dean Osborne says, you know, hey, this is the dean, and I say, okay, now I'm definitely in trouble. Yeah, then you know, next thing you know, I find out that I've been selected for this honor, and it was incredible.
Oh, that's great. Aren't our brains just ridiculous? You know, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm sure you're not a person who does things that would get you in trouble, but you know, our crazy magic brain. Oh, when I interviewed Stephen Johnson a couple months ago, and Stephen was the winner the year before you, and he did not get to have a ceremony because of COVID, where you got to actually have the physical evening. And guys, this evening it's a fundraiser for the award and for the fellowships that go with it. And it's a real kind of, it's not quite black tie, but it's really Anderson all gussied up. And Stephen was also on the 405. All things happen on a freeway, or I'm not sure if he's at 405, but he was on the freeway going to dinner on his birthday with his wife, and they pulled over, and you know, it was a really cool moment. So all right, well, I'm going to toggle back, and we're going to show. So the next 2 minutes is actually what was shown the evening. We were at the Skirball, the big room at the Skirball, big 500 person event. And this is the video that tells Uzi's story, and then we'll come back and we can talk some more. So give me just 1 second to cue this up. I just have to minimize for a second so I can forward up.
You never stand still. I try to point out to my players individually, they either continue to improve a little or they go backward.
Now, coaches' philosophies were not just about functioning better at what you do. I was reminded of this when I met Uzi Alaidroos, who reassessed his whole life recently.
I've always been a person who loved to learn new things. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to learn as much as possible. But then when my daughter was born, you know, I realized that I needed to learn for all of us. It wasn't just about me anymore.
Children have a way of recalibrating priorities, don't they?
They do, and so I decided to go back to school so that I could grow professionally for myself and for the family. But then everything got turned upside down.
With the pandemic?
That was a part of it, but the real wake-up call for me was a thyroid cancer diagnosis. I was forced to make every thought and decision count. I realized that, you know, today or tomorrow could be my last day here, and I needed to make as much impact as possible. At the time, the pandemic was still going on, and I was going into work every day. We had one of the largest corporate outbreaks in LA County, but the work that we were doing was critical to national security. I was nervous about getting sick and just about how fragile everything was at the time.
Cancer while in school, working on critical government projects, and trying to be a good father. Wow.
It was Coach's idea that leadership is applicable to the entire person. Leadership doesn't stop when you leave work. It doesn't stop in the face of adversity. In some ways, I think leadership at home is even more difficult with a daughter who looks up to me.
Grit, perseverance, humility.
You can't let the challenges stop you. Cancer was in the hands of the doctors and God, not me. So I poured myself into school and just enjoyed it.
He's not telling you he had 2 surgeries during a full course load. He only missed 3 classes. And for that quarter, Uzi got a 4.0.
I never thought to make each day the most productive, the most enjoyable until that point. I need to live every day like it's the best day of my life.
That sounds just like Coach Uzi. I know he'd be proud to hear you say just that.
The pandemic brought
All right, let's give it up for Uzi. Oh my gosh, I wish we had a video like that for every person in our community. I get all verklempt. So, so Ellie and Mir and Greg, thank you guys for being with us. You know, I don't even know. I'm just learning how to tell these stories, and there were professionals who worked on that, obviously. But, you know, this was Uzi's first quarter at Anderson. He had just taken a new job at Northrop that had significantly more responsibilities, including management. It's during COVID, so we're all, you know, riding that wave. And then he gets this diagnosis. So I'm a big proponent of get ready for school before school, right? Anything you can do in the spring and the summer before the start of Anderson is time well spent. Get your house in order, you know, get your study space, get your roommates, your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, get your village to support you, get your calendar. But, you know, Uzi got dealt an incredible curveball, way beyond the normal. So I want to hear, you know, Uzi, you know, lessons that you learned from that you think others could benefit from, but also want to let our listeners ask any questions as we go back to where you were then and look forward to where you're going from here forward. So I'll open it up to you, Uzi. Like, what was that quarter like? How did you get through all that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I'm truly grateful for that made the entire experience so much easier, the entire experience of you know, going through a health crisis, was the fact that all of a sudden I had this new Anderson FEMBA community around me that, you know, 300 plus classmates that I didn't previously have. You know, and I'm thankful I had a great family support system. I had, you know, coworkers that were very supportive as well. But, you know, I just by coming to Anderson, and I didn't even really know anybody at this point, because this was the first quarter. You know, we networked a little bit, but it was challenging during COVID. Leadership Foundations was all over Zoom at the time. But in spite of all of that, you know, I found that all of my classmates were incredibly supportive, and, you know, they basically said, look, we're here for you. We're a part of a family now. And, you know, it almost served as something that kept me motivated to, you know, get through it as quickly as possible, so that, you know, I could make the most of the subsequent quarters that I'd be spending with my class.
Wow. Now, what section were you in? What schedule did you choose?
So I was on the Tuesdays and Thursdays at the time.
Okay. And yeah, and the fall of 2020 was the biggest FEMBA group we'd ever had. We over admitted and you all over accepted. And all of a sudden we had this giant class that we were not, you know, we're still trying to give you guys everything you are here for. And so you're going to class Tuesday night, Thursday night on Zoom. And a couple of weeks into it, you say, hey guys, guess what? Or how did that go?
Yeah. So, you know, the way it works for anyone who's not familiar is you get a learning group assigned to you for that first quarter. And that first learning group is fantastic, because you end up working very closely with that entire team. So, you know, we were working together on a lot of group assignments, and, you know, it was great. This was right when things started. Everybody was very excited, very energetic, and, you know, we formed a really strong connection within that learning team. So they were the first group of Anderson students that I shared the news of my diagnosis with. And basically they said, we got this, do what you need to do, call in, you know, to our meetings if you're able to, but take care of yourself. We've got you. We're going to make sure you get the best possible grade in these classes if you're not able to contribute as much. I'm fortunate I was able to still, you know, participate to you know, a pretty significant extent. But you know, I'll never forget my first learning group at Anderson, because you know, when the fact that they were able to you know, really support me through all that, even though a lot of us had never even really met in person before, because, you know, again, everything was still over Zoom at the time.
Wow. And Dean Osborne said you missed 3 classes that quarter.
I did. So the Zoom experience turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I imagine had we been in person at the time, I would have probably missed a little bit more class. But because it was on Zoom, I was able to prop my laptop up on my bed or on the recliner wherever I was sitting at the time, and keep up with class.
Wow. And, in addition to the kind of extraordinary health reality, you also had more of what would I want to say, more of a typical FEMBA career journey happening in parallel. So you had just started a new employer. So tell us about what was, oh, by the way, going on, at Northrop and in your career while you were onboarding to FEMBA and then dealing with your health challenge.
Yeah. So I had taken a new position at Northrop shortly after I had been accepted into FEMBA. So I was like, wow, this is already paying dividends. Details of that, we don't need to get into, but
we'll take credit for it. We'll take credit. We'll take credit. No, I'm kidding. Everybody's gonna say, well, where's my promotion? Uzi got one.
So yeah, I had accepted a new position. I had a team of direct reports actually, and was stepping into a role at a plant in the middle of the COVID pandemic, prior to any vaccines or anything like that. I still remember, I think my first day reporting to work, that back then we were still thinking that masks were not needed. And then, all of that changed. So, taking a new role, and obviously new guys showing up, and everybody's already on edge because of this pandemic. I found that I had inherited a team that was not as motivated as it may have been in the past. And so, with all that, I was really, really excited about starting at Anderson to, grow the leadership skills that help make me successful in that new role over there.
And so you started at Northrop, like at what point? It was in 2020, right?
Yeah. It was, I think it was May of 2020, April or May of 2020.
Okay. And had you managed people before? Had you had as many direct reports in your prior company?
I hadn't had any direct reports. I had been a lead engineer in the past. And so that was, it was my first role, really stepping into more of a general management position as opposed to a technical leadership position that I had previously held.
Excellent. Okay. So that's April, May, new company, bigger role than I've ever done before. And then 4.5 months later, leadership foundations on Zoom, starting my fall quarter. What was the, because you do data and decisions and organizational behavior. So how did the actual content of your courses make you feel going to work with, you got a team and morale's a little bit low. Everybody's trying to figure out how to stay healthy in a pandemic.
Yeah, I thought the organizational behavior class was really great to help identify ways to help motivate the team and work through an extremely challenging situation. My team, we ultimately got to the point where we started feeling like we were the ones on the front line, and we understood how important the work that we were doing was. And I think once we realized that, we sort of banded together and said, look, we have to do this. We're going to get through this together. Things aren't necessarily going to be easy, but the only way we'll get through this is if we work closely together and just have each other's backs. And so there was a lot that I'd learned in the OB class about finding the right motivation for a team, and really making sure that we took care of each other. I didn't ever feel like I was, you know, managing this team. I felt like, you know, I was there to support this team and help it, you know, really achieve the best possible outcome.
Oh, that's awesome. And Dean Osborne talked about, you know, grit and perseverance and being a servant leader. And I think that when I think back to what I've learned about Coach Wooden, they always talk about how meticulous he was, that he would map out the 2-hour practices to the minute on little white 3x5 cards and just run the drill and run the drill and run the drill. And I love, there's so many, this is the beautiful thing as you all start to learn the UCLA lore, there's so many aphorisms from him. I have this one. I keep it on my little make today your masterpiece. I keep it on a little calendar here on my, and it used to be on my dashboard, but since I don't drive to work so much right now, I keep it here at my desk at home. Make today your masterpiece. Never mistake activity for accomplishment. It takes 10 hands to score a basket. It's amazing what you can accomplish when no one's trying to get credit. You know, all of the leadership lessons and the distinctions that he gave us about teamwork, you know, they're just so inspiring. And I love that part of being a part of UCLA is that it's a well to go to on tough days. You know, if Coach could do it, maybe I could do it, that type thing. I had a question, but I lost it. I got all excited about his quotes. Well, okay, so here we are now. It's spring of your second year. So you're you know, a little over the halfway point. Tell us what's school like right now? You know, it's a year past all of the events of the video. You know, how is school going for you at the moment?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the most exciting things was getting back to in-class activities. So, you know, that's been really great. I've, you know, now that I'm through with all my core classes and I'm you know, taking more of the electives, you know, I'm finding that we're able to learn from, you know, some experts in so many different fields. You know, I'm taking a class right now about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and I would have never thought that would be a class that would be being taught at a business school. Yet, you know, the professor is someone who's, you know, an expert in that field. He's spent time at Nike and several tech firms and is able to really, you know, share what's going on right now in an industry that's like, you know, they're on the bleeding edge, right? So I think, you know, some of the elective classes we get to take are really exciting, and you know, it's over so many different current topics that are really going to be helpful for MBA students over, you know, their careers going forward.
Well, and as you and I were speaking yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever we spoke, most recently, you know, I got to interview Ryan Alimo 2 weeks ago, and you know, he's at JPL working on perseverance and what it takes to go to Mars, but on the side, he's created Opal AI, which is an artificial intelligence company. And I got to hear him this week make his presentation with the NAP venture competition. And so you didn't expect to have an elective opportunity to take a class in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And you've got classmates who are creating companies in that. He's hired 6 Anderson people so far as he's launching his company. And he's the only Anderson team ever to win a National Science Foundation grant. So it's so incredible to just be back on campus. And, you know, people are 3-dimensional. You see how tall people are. You know, it's just crazy. Like, wow, I thought he was so tall and someone's not tall and vice versa. And it's just so beautiful to get out of the Zoom bubble. And how about, are you doing the business creation option or are you doing the global access program?
In the global access program. So we've just formed our team. I'm in a team that, you know, is entirely comprised of, you know, a group of us that had, you know, gotten along well from our previous section. And yeah, we just had our company list there drop, but I'm pretty excited about the gap experience that's coming up here over the upcoming months.
Well, and I know people, gap it's such a big experience. Give people a little bit of insider baseball, like what is the lead up to gap like? How did you go about choosing your classmates, and how many companies will you be looking at on the list?
Yeah, so with gap, you basically, as a student, you get to become a consultant to a global firm that has some issue that they may need some support getting through with the help of a team of talented business school students. So as you form the team, you want to make sure that you've got folks with backgrounds that sort of complement each other. I think in my team, I'm the only one with that engineering background, which is really helpful because I don't nearly know as much as one of my counterparts who's got a very solid marketing background. And so it's really been exciting. And then there's several dozen firms from all over the world. I think that there are countries like New Zealand, Finland, and Norway, all have different types of projects that soon we'll be essentially bidding on to help work this project for over the upcoming quarters.
I apologize. I'm not sure if you can hear, my dogs are going crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I saw Jeff Shinerock. There was a retirement ceremony for Professor Cockram the other evening, and he was talking about there's new countries being added. I'm not sure if they're being added this year for your cycle or if they're a year in advance. But the effort that the Global Access Program faculty expend to source these companies from around the world to give the learning opportunities, it's really exciting because they leverage their Anderson connections and put together this choice group. So you said the list just dropped. So the list is X number of companies this year. And so it's kind of a back and forth process, right? You all have a chance to say, I think, oh, I'm an engineer, we've got a great marketer, you can kind of articulate, these are strengths that we have as a team. And then the faculty are looking at the challenges that each of the companies, and it's kind of this matchmaking, right?
Right.
When will you find out your company assignment?
Quizzing me on dates here.
Or I mean, ish,
think...
but it's about a month or so at least, right?
Yeah. I think it might be less than that. I think it's sometime in June.
Okay. Yeah. No, sorry. Not the specifics aren't the point. Just that, for people who are, am I going to do the Global Access Program or the Business Creation option? The Global Access Program is what Uzi is doing, and probably 3 out of 4 FEMBAs choose to do that. Or the alternate pathway is the Business Creation option, which is if instead of consulting an early stage, high tech, high growth international company and getting to have a window into someone else's world and test drive your MBA to answer a business problem for that company, which is, as I said, maybe what 3 out of 4 FEMBAs do. 1 out of 4 FEMBAs do the Business Creation option, which is no, I don't want to consult another company. I want to start my own. And also it's a team environment. You also find classmates with whom you'd like to do the capstone experience. But then in that pathway, you're creating your own company. So we have this, we have in our faculty's opinion, the best field studies of any top MBA program. We've been doing field studies since 1969. It's amazing how much expertise is latent in the faculty, because it really is about 15-person faculty team that works on the Global Access Program. So it's not just an experience where my 4 classmates and 1 faculty, but it's actually this larger level experience. So I just appreciate you kind of fleshing it out. So people, and this is all in the on-ramp to the actual start of the program, which will be the summer and the fall as a 6-month, it's a 2-quarter experience, with the big culmination being the presentations at the December completion event, where you will present your recommendation on behalf of your company to a panel of outside industry experts. And these are people who are venture capitalists, investment types who are used to saying, yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe. So you really get to make a business case for this is what our company should do. And here's our research and these are our primary and secondary interviews. And why is all of that valuable? Well, at Northrop and beyond, you know, for the second half of Uzi's career, he's going to be doing that. You know, that's what MBAs do in big companies. They make strategic recommendations for where do we go from here? And it's a whole other level of reality when you're accountable and it's your plan, and millions of dollars and people's careers are all being allocated because you have the education and the confidence and the competence to look at ambiguity, do your primary and secondary research, apply all the components of your graduate degree in management, and make a pitch that people want to say yes to. Not to put any pressure on you, Uzi, because you're at the.
No, I think that sums it up really well. And you know, it's going to be an exciting project. I think you know, we've got a team that we're really excited about, and I just think that, you know, being at Anderson, being in Los Angeles, I think really opens up, you know, how impactful these projects can be, right? There's, you know, this is the place where, you know, so much global, you know, interaction occurs. So for a project like GAP or for BCO, right? How many brand new startups do you see, you know, coming out of LA every year? So I think you know, being here at you know, one of the epicenters in the country is just a great experience, and you get to be around all these people all the time.
Well, I think we lost Ellie. It's the lunch hour here, but Mir and Greg, I wanted to just give you an opportunity if there were any questions you wanted to put in front of Uzi from his journey that can help yours.
Yeah, hello. Thanks so much for putting this on, and really appreciate your time. So I just wanted to ask Uzi, what was sort of something that he was able to take from FEMBA or his time, you know, to sort of doing the coursework over there and sort of bring it over to, you know, his professional career while, you know, he was kind of juggling everything. And also, I hope you're doing well and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm thankful. I'm you know, pretty much fully healthy right now, and you know, I've been doing really well. You know, as far as things that I've picked up in the coursework, one of the biggest motivators for me as someone with a prior engineering background in coming to business school was really growing my leadership skills, as well as my, you know, just general business acumen skills. You know, I was a great engineer. I had, you know, great technical skills. I could go and, you know, help design aircraft components or whatever you want. But, you know, sometimes areas that I felt like I felt short was, you know, persuading someone in a position of leadership to, you know, buy into my idea. You know, I wasn't necessarily the best at creating, you know, business plans or things like that would be used internally. And so, you know, through a lot of my coursework, I developed that skill set, and, you know, you get loads of experience and you know, chances to interact with folks who may have a lot of experience in areas that you fall short. So I felt like I've really grown as more of a leader now, and someone who's able to, you know, help influence change and help, you know, sort of drive more of my ideas to closure than I was able to with just my technical background that I previously had.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that answer.
Hey, what's going on, Uzi?
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Good, man. So I was curious while listening to you. So in 5 years, 10 years, when you're telling your children about this time in your life and all the uh, challenges you went through and all of the new experiences, what would you want their takeaway from your story to be?
Oh, that's an awesome question, Greg. Um, I think I would want their takeaway to be that their dad's the most energetic guy in the world. I think I think that's really the key to getting through adversity in life and working through situations where you've got a lot on your plate. Um, I think it's safe to admit that while there are plenty of us FEMBAs who do have families, we are certainly a smaller group than those that don't. But I think that just being energetic and being excited about everything you do in life is really essential to making the most of every day and making the most of an MBA experience while you're working and while you're raising a family.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Greg. And thank you, Mir. You guys need to get a microphone. Your questions are better than mine. That's an excellent question. Wow. Putting some perspective on it. Both Mir, like what's the bridge between class and career right now? And Greg, what's the legacy, looking forward? Yeah. And wow, children, what is it, Uzi? They don't remember what we say, they remember what we do. And yeah, daddy got up and went to work during COVID and kept the world safe.
Yeah.
And mommy helped daddy do that. It's just like, whether they even, they won't quite remember it because they're so little, but. And when did you find out you were expecting with your second? Was that sort of like spring or winter of your first year?
Yeah, it would have been spring probably.
Okay, so there was a little pause between that incredible first quarter and the coming of your second baby.
Yeah, not too much though. But it definitely gave us something to be really excited about, and he's been fantastic ever since.
That's amazing. Yeah, because your wife's expecting in the video. So it's just, life doesn't stop. And it always amazes me. Yeah, you alluded to it. A third of our FEMBAs are married or in a committed relationship, and of that third, I'm not sure what the percentage is who have children. So it's 2 out of 3 FEMBAs are still single, and that's a different chapter of life. That's a good chapter of life. If you heard if you want to catch a fish, go where the fish are. And if you want to catch a good fish, go where the good fish are. We have 125 different graduate degree programs, plus our incredible UCLA undergrads. So it's a great place to be single because you can meet some incredible, wonderful people. Or if you're married, you can have this nurturing village. I love how you talk about your classmates whom you've known for a month or 6 weeks. And then you're coming up with this diagnosis and they're saying, we got you. We're going to stand with you. We're going to help you get through this. I talked to, I don't know what it is about this year's admits, but we have several people who are relocating to LA in the entering class. And it's such a gift to, especially if you're single, if you don't have a partner in your life, to get to tie into this community. All of a sudden you go from LA is huge to LA's like my hometown. I have all these connections and all these great companies and all these different neighborhoods from San Francisco down to San Diego, out to Riverside County. All of a sudden LA's not overwhelming anymore once you're in the UCLA Anderson family.
Yeah, absolutely. I live in Pasadena, and I was thinking initially, I was like, oh, I'll never see anyone on this side of town, but there's enough of us around here that we've got a little crew around here that we can get together with and hang out. So yeah, I think it's really been great. I'm not from LA, but since coming through Anderson, I feel a very strong sense of belonging to this place now. And you know, I think you said it really well there.
Well, and once your kids, you know, once they get into kindergarten and then when they get into sports, oh my gosh, then all of a sudden, every time you go to Target, you see 20 people, that was the second transformation. My first one was being part of UCLA. Okay, that gave me a foothold. But then when my children got to school age, it's just amazing, the journey of life. It's just so fun. Well, my little final question, this question is from my brother. My brother John used to work in entertainment and production in a television studio, and he said, why don't you give your guests a chance to do some Bruin bear hugs? So it's a three-part question. You know, I love the African proverb of, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And in FEMBA, you're going far, and it takes a village to raise a FEMBA. So the three bear hugs, I'd love you to share, you know, like if you could give a bear hug to a faculty member, who would that be and why? If you could give a bear hug to a friend, it could be a FEMBA friend or a pre-FEMBA friend, your choice, or it can be a group of friends, and then a family bear hug. So we'll do faculty, friend, and family. So who would you like to give a shout out to?
Oh, that's a that's a fun one. Well, the family one's easy. I think my wife deserves that more than anyone else. Just, you know, being able to support us and support me through this journey. Well, you know, hands down, she gets that one.
Awesome.
Geez, friend is hard because there's so many in the FEMBA program, and I feel like I couldn't pick one over.
Well, it can be,
another.
you can represent it doesn't have to be isolated to one. You could spread it over a couple of people. That's totally great too. I don't mean to make it exclusionary.
I'll say we've got a small group of guys from our old Section 3 crew, and they know who they are. But I'd give one to them, and I'm bummed I can't hang with them this weekend due to my recent illness that I'm getting through here with another COVID incident. All right, and let's see the faculty member. I think when I'd gotten my diagnosis, it was Professor Misich's data and decisions class, and I shared with him, you know, that I was going to be out a little bit, and you know, he wrote me a really nice note back, and just saying that, look, you've done great in this class so far. I'm confident you're going to be okay here. But let me know if you need anything, and if there's anything I can do for you, give me a call. And you know, at the time, that made me feel really great, because I wasn't sure what to really expect. You know, kind of sharing that news with my professors, and you know, how things were going to shake out after that.
Oh, that's wow. Yeah. And you know, and the question earlier that Mir asked about the bridge between class and career, and at Northrop, you're working with a team that might have been a little bit, you know, kind of beat up a tiny bit. You didn't use that word, but you know, morale was not high. And you know, what is it that we learn about leadership? You know, it's like bedside manner for a doctor. You know, it's not always the right answer. It's the empathy with which we deliver any answer, and learning how to both receive and give those moments of empathy. You know, it's hard when you're vulnerable, you know, and yet you were professional, you're in communication. Like, I'm not having a normal first quarter. So you did your half, and then you were met with a moment of empathy. You know, well, hey, Uzi, I respect how you're going so far in the quarter. We got this. So I just was so grateful. I didn't tell everybody that you're dealing with another illness at the moment. Short term, you're going to get through it. I didn't want to overdo it, but I was so grateful that you were willing to have this conversation this week, because your story is inspiring. And when I surround myself with people who I actually know, because I'm I'm in a common experience with them, like graduate school at UCLA, and I see the strength that they bring to deal with the challenges that life is throwing at them. It gets me ready for whatever life will throw at me. And it's both, if I see it, I can be it. Like if Uzi can get through it, I can get through it, whatever it might be. And it's dig the well before you're thirsty. It's build those relationships before you need those relationships. And I was so grateful that we could schedule this time, because, you know, once we get to recording this, I want to encourage all of this year's entering students and beyond, right? Like 2.5, 3 years of graduate school, life's going to happen. You had it all. New job, stair step of accountability, personal health challenge, expansion of family, you know, and you're doing great, you know, and if Uzi can do it, so can you. You know, that's the energy I'm intending to communicate on these interviews is just that human beings have always shared stories. It's what we've done since time immemorial. We used to sit around a campfire and now we sit around a computer, but how did you survive out there in the big wide world today? You know, well, if Uncle Uzi can survive, maybe nephew Dylan will be okay, right? Aggie learning from a Longhorn. Oh my gosh. Well, Uzi, as we kind of come to the end of the time here, you know, kind of last words are yours. You know, anything else that we should have talked about that you wanted to mention, or any just last words are yours as we.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think my advice to anyone in any MBA program really, but, you know, particularly to Anderson, you know, make the most of your time here by, you know, fostering the relationships with your classmates and faculty members that are going to really be able to, you know, help you get through any challenges you may see months or years down the line. You know, everybody here is here because, you know, they kind of want the same thing. And so you'll, you know, it's incredible how quickly you'll be able to form these bonds in this environment that may not have been things that were attainable previously.
Well, thank you, Uzi. I am really, really grateful that we got to capture your story to share to this year's entering class and even beyond. And everyone, you've been listening to Uzi Alaidroos, class of 2023, halfway through his program. He's a rising leader at Northrop Grumman. He's a husband, he's a father. He was one of our 2 John Wooden Global Leadership Fellows last year, along with Dr. Judy Cho. And he's an inspiration, and he's part of your alumni network. So look him up on LinkedIn. Don't be a stranger. And we appreciate your attention, Mir and Greg, and the great questions. Thank you for those. And for those of you watching this in the future, yeah, he said it well. You know, don't miss the opportunity. This is an opportunity. It's not forever. These 2.5, 3 years go so quickly, believe it or not. And, you know, you surrender to win. You just jump into the pool. You don't know how to swim. It seems really deep and scary, but, you know, we don't lose people around here. We graduate everybody, almost everyone. If you get through the fall quarter, then we're going to help you get to the finish line. Some of you will do it quicker. Some of you will stretch it out. Some of you will take a leave of absence. Marriages will happen. Babies will come. Promotions will happen. And there will be flat tires. And Uzi dealt with an amazing first quarter with grace and dignity and communication and professionalism and a lot of love and support. You know, thank you. What's your wife's name? I'm sorry.
Afshane.
Afshane. Thank you, Afshane. Thank you. I'm sure everything you did that we'll never know about that kept him going. We're so grateful, and congratulations to your expanding family. So thanks everyone for joining us for this conversation with Uzi Alaidroos, and we'll talk to you next time.